Hello and welcome to The Long Play, where we listen to some of the world's greatest albums. It's a bit like a book club, but there's no books. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Tom. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Yeah.
What's been going on?
Well, it's felt like for a big chunk of this month, the summer's been here. It seems to have gone away again at the moment. But
yeah, we started. Well, we've had a couple of weeks of, like high summer sun.
Yeah.
But it seems to be doom and gloom, rain and pain.
Yes, he'll be back. So here we are to talk about Baduizm. That's the album we've been listening to this month.
Yeah, so are we saying Baduizm or Baduizm?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm saying Baduizm.
Yeah, I've been sort of saying Baduizm to myself. She says her surname Badu.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
on the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy to go with either.
Well, I don't think we're the definitive source, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So for those people who kind of haven't listened to the intro episode, why don't you go back and listen to that 10 minutes of introduction into what this album is about? But this is Erykah Badu's debut album, recorded in 1997, and a really important part of the kind of soul genre, along with D'Angelo's Brown Sugar, kind of launched soul back into the kind of commercial realm through neo soul. So,
which was coined by the label's CEO.
I think so.
Wrong. Yeah, and I from what I read, I think it was in the Pitchfork interview that you circulated in the mid-month missives. There was a lot of resistance to labeling it neo soul. I think there was a lot of not wanting to be pigeonholed.
Yeah, and I think there's a view that soul had never been away, but it had been eclipsed commercially by R&B and hip hop, and so this kind of resurgence of soul in that time, it was probably worth labeling, and that's kind of that's one of the things that this album launched.
And it was a real melting pot of, in the 90s was a great time for music. There was lots of money flying around. Labels were spending lots of money on things like music videos, and MTV was at its pomp.
Yeah.
It was a good time. There was lots of genres fighting around. I was saying to you that, punk was really big, pop was massive, and obviously this undercurrent of neo soul emerging around this time in the sort of mid 90s.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. So how did you find it, Tom? How was your month?
Going straight in.
Well, how was your...
Well, why don't I tell you a bit about my just my experience of like doing the listening.
Yeah.
Maybe. So after the last month where I said I need to do my notes earlier, I did do that. And then I suddenly started to realize that actually my notes don't mean as much until the end, because actually that journey where you spend that time listening to the album is part of that. And actually, my thoughts later are much
more developed.
Yeah, formed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Than they are in those sort of early outsets. So it's almost a bit unfair to sort of start listening with that critical ear and pen.
Yeah.
To sort of make very sort of defined choices about how you feel about a piece of music. So what I'm saying is I'm evolving.
And that's the purpose of the long play. That's why we're listening to albums over the span.
Bringing it back. Look at this.
Over the span of a month. That giving yourself that time to listen to an album properly and to develop your thinking. It's absolutely true. Then when you get into the middle of the month, when I sent out the mid-month missives, that's where there's a bit of background reading, a bit of kind of context forming that really helps kind of develop
I thought you nailed it this month.
Thanks, mate.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I thought you did great. I really enjoyed the NPR Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And that was filmed not that long ago.
No, that was maybe it was 2018 if I remember.
Yeah,
it's obviously nearer now than it was nearer the album.
And we had a little bit of rim shot in there.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And then as you come towards the end of the month, and I start thinking, oh, we're going to make a podcast about this. Yeah, that's when you really kind of nail how you felt.
So I did my classic sort of eve of the podcast recording, like, right, I need to sort of gather my thoughts together. And last month, I thought it was a sort of blind panic. But actually, I think I also live in this sort of constant flux of being terrified that I'm going to have a new sort of brainwave. So I actually have to do it at the last possible moment so that I can't have any new ideas. Yes. So I was doing the same last night. I did another big listen. But as well, a bit like one of the reasons why we like doing the listening parties at the end of the month before these episodes go live, is so that you can have a bit of that sort of sign off of that album.
Yeah.
And actually, it felt like that for me. I also found that I had it on in the background a lot more than I had last month's album. I don't know if that's just I've just been in more, or it's been.
I think this album for me suits background listening more than Blood on the Tracks. Yeah, that's
yeah, I agree.
That's definitely the case. I mean, my starting point for this album was one of excitement. You know, it's an album I've always wanted to listen to, and when I put it on for the first time, I've got my initial notes were what a joy. Well, it's kind of the sun was shining, and this music was on, and I felt like this is going to be a good month listening to this album. It's just why I love music, that kind of cool vibe that it was bringing. I absolutely loved it. In fact, I was saying to Tom before that it reminded me, summer of '89, I was at university, the sun was out, and we were playing in the park, playing Soul to Soul's Club Classics Volume 1, and absolutely loving it and feeling like what a time to be alive. And it took me back to there.
Nice.
I mean,
what a time to be alive.
Well, you weren't, Tom.
No.
But I was deep into my university days by then.
Yeah, I was born the following year, 1990.
Yeah.
So I was 7 when this. It came out in
97. Yeah.
What month?
February, I think.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. So I was 6 when this album came out.
Yeah, and I was older than that.
Share with the listeners.
And I was 27. Let's get into it then, shall we?
Shall we?
Yeah. The album opens with Rimshot.
Yes.
No, the intro. It top and tails it, in fact.
So we talked a tiny bit about how to kind of break this up, because I said it was quite difficult to talk about an album that has so many like scat parts and
little interludes.
Yeah, little breakaways. Like the album is bookended by 2 versions of Rimshot, intro and outro, a bit like this podcast. And there's the sometimes remix, or not remix, but mix.
Yeah.
And is there another?
Certainly is
Certainly,
is 2 versions of that, a remix of Certainly.
Bring up the album here so I can see. There we go.
And there's the little freestyle skit of Afro as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why don't we start here then? Let's talk about how we feel about them as a part of the album.
Yeah, I quite like this use of Rimshot to top and tail it. I think it's quite a nice way to set the album.
Yes.
It feels like a kind of not good to have these bookends. Like
I agree,
little introduction and yeah.
And I don't think I did until about the last couple of days.
Right.
I think I was finding it a bit like, it feels a bit of a shame that it's kind of started this way.
Yeah.
But yes, I think I now am on board. Now I sort of see them as one instead of as 2.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you.
Yeah, no, I like this. As I say, I like it as a structure. And I think it's just like a little appetizer prior to going into the main course of the album. And that's kind of what it feels like. So it's not a big start, but I don't think it's supposed to be a big start. This is just a kind of welcoming you in. I did find that some of the other kind of bits of the album that are more interludes, a bit more frustrating at times. I would have preferred more focus. I don't think I needed, like 2 versions of Certainly, but this particular Rimshot, I think sits nicely for me.
Okay, and which was your favourite of the little segments?
Maybe sometimes I like the hip hop element to that. Yeah, that or sometimes mix number 9, as it's actually called, because not sometimes.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And actually, it's a 14-track album. Let's say it's split around track 7.
mm-hmm.
So if Afro is the beginning of side B, we've
Yeah.
got another blues song,
yeah,
which
Yeah.
I thought was quite interesting.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that's a
it
bit of an
does.
outlier because
Yeah.
all the other ones have
A connection to another
yeah,
track.
to another track.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an outlier in
Yeah.
the sense that it's stylistically really different.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not really different, but a bit of a breakaway. And yeah, that it doesn't have anything that it's necessarily attached to.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it almost does stand alone as its own track as well. It's a tribute to Questlove. Yeah, I don't know if you knew.
Okay.
Because some of the recording was made with the Roots, and Questlove was quite heavily involved. It's not my favourite track on the album because it just feels a bit throwaway and a bit kind of casual, but
there's quite a lot of talking on the album. Like little segments of...
It feels quite 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, especially at the beginning of Next Lifetime, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The little bit of almost drama sequence where you have this conversation. And there's another voice now. I don't know who that is. Do you know?
No, I don't. I mean, obviously at the time her partner was Andre 3000, and he appears in the video for that and for Other Side of the Game. But I don't know whether that's him on that. Actually, the thing about Afro that stuck out for me was she didn't go to a Wu-Tang gig, but her mum did. I mean, how cool is Erykah Badu's mum?
Shall we begin?
We shall.
I've got notes everywhere. And I need to try.
It's always nice to see Tom's done his homework.
Yeah, and I really like to show that I have. So I've decided to do it on many bits of paper. I've done a bit on an iPad. So I'm going to try and do my best to make some sense of any of this.
But this album starts off strong. All of the singles from the album are at the start of the album. The first half.
For that first sort of block of tracks. So On and On, Apple Tree, Other Side of the Game. Sometimes Mix 9 as well as my favourite of. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
it is my favourite of those. And Next Lifetime, they are all smashes.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely. And Next Lifetime, Other Side of the Game, Apple Tree, and On with the 4 released singles as well. So it definitely starts strong.
So first track, On and On.
This is the song that I knew. Before. Yeah.
When do you remember when you heard it first?
I mean, maybe in '97 when it was originally released. Definitely, I kind of was listening to this sort of music around that time, and so I was definitely aware of On and On. It's such a great song. It's such a kind of cool vibe. It's a great way to start the album.
Yeah, the vocal.
Yeah.
The vocal.
Yeah.
It's so loose.
Yeah.
The feel is, and I know we've already said this, but across the album, the feel of the vocal, it's just such a lesson in how to perform.
Yeah.
It's done with such, just such effortltlessness.
I mean, I put effortlessly cool. That's what it feels like to me.
I think you've nailed it.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. Have you thought about starting a podcast to talk about music?
maybe. Yeah, and that kind of first line, actually, peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned. If your knowledge were your wealth, it would be well earned. You know, it's a great way to kind of start a song.
Yes. I found, in particular, and actually this is a bit of a sort of theme across a lot of the tracks, is, using samples. It was really popular then.
Still is, Tom.
Yeah, still is. But in particular, at that time, sampling, in particular, old records as well, was a big thing. But the use of just 2 chords, that little dun dun, the whole way through, apart from the middle section, it just does that the whole way through. Is in this one is a real masterstroke of not making that feel like it's stagnating at all. at no point are you kind of going, like later on, I mean, I've mentioned this already about the double bass line, and certainly.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe because it's not as exposed. The double bass line, and certainly, is really exposed. So it's quite easy for that to be the thing that you're holding on to. And I think as well, I mean, I'm talking about certainly and not on and on. But the sort of percussive nature of a double bass, it's going to get in the way of it's going to get in the way of words and lyrics.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it necessarily does that, but obviously you've got two things competing there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the things why it feels like it just jars a bit more for me. But back to On and On. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful use of just two chords. And that sample. It's really nice, really delicate, and just allows the vocal to just sit on top and just for her to do her thing.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really, really great.
Yeah, this is her debut album. That's the first song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what was the first song that she wrote on the record.
Yeah, good question.
I wonder if there's a way to find out.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit more in-depth Googling. Maybe in addition to next month's mid-month missive.
Maybe.
A bit of extra.
Sign up now on the website.
Yeah, do sign up. Do come and join us. It's nice here.
So, score for On and On?
Scoring already, are we?
I think so.
I'm going to give it an 8.
I was going to give it an 8 as well.
I'm giving it an 8. It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good, and it's a great way. I think it's hard for a first track on an album is such a tone setter. Like, you've got to think about how that's going to be setting the stage for what you're going to say later on in the album. And unless it's, I mean, so far we've listened to 2 really highly acclaimed albums, and I think it'd be pretty hard work for them to have bad first tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we have talked about Rimshot as a way to start a record, but this definitely feels like the start to me.
Yeah. If you're going to call Rimshot the intro, then that's what you need to treat it as, just like a little welcome.
This is the meat and potatoes.
Exactly.
And I'm here for it. 8 from me.
Very good, an 8 from me.
So then we're on to Apple Tree.
Yeah.
I love this song.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I feel like I say that a lot, but it's true. It is great. And I think it actually, from the outset, it was my favourite track, I think.
Yeah.
On the way in, and it's stayed up there. It hasn't waned my interest in this song. I love the way that it starts. The use of the bird song at the beginning is really, really nice.
And then the beat drop.
Oh, it's great. Oh. That little skip.
Yeah.
And the bass line's brill.
Yeah. It's
just all good. What did I write here?
Yeah, refer to your other set of notes.
Yeah. Britain feels like the 90s.
Oh, well, I mean, that spoken intro, I can do without it, to be honest.
Yeah?
But it does feel like the 90s. But
so that's the bit of the 90s that you didn't like? People talking.
Maybe.
Stick to the music.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
but the music's amazing. And this kind of,
I quite like the intro. Yeah, I like the sort of delicate nature as well. I got some personal, value in hearing her speak, and speaking within the context of the song as well. It felt very different to because it's so placed and it's very performed.
Yeah,
not like the talking at the beginning of
Next Lifetime.
Well, and Afro as well.
Yeah,
and because actually Next Lifetime feels very performed as well. Like it feels very scripted.
Yeah,
and I did like it.
Right.
I'm gonna
push
against you here.
The whole concept of the album feels like it's a mix of soul, hip hop beats, jazz influences, spoken word,
it's a real
with themes
pot.
around kind of spirituality, black consciousness, love, and I guess some of those spoken words add to some of that. Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
it is the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the contemporaries of the time as well.
Yeah.
You know, spoken word and rap culture was a thing then. And,
Yeah.
You know, it's quite easy to see that would be, you know, a very, very easy connection.
Yeah, she knows how to choose a rapper as well. She dated both Common and Andre 3000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as well, when I was doing my little research about who did the talking at the beginning of Next Lifetime, I couldn't find that, but Method Man's also in the video.
That's right. Yeah, Method Man is in the video.
Wow. So, you know.
She knows her rappers.
So, yes, thoughts on Apple Tree?
Yeah, I mean, just the whole timing, the timing of the whole album, actually. But on this, it just feels like it, as you say, just flows. And the timing is perfection. You know, it's such a groove.
Score?
This is an 8 for me as well, actually.
I'll give it. Yeah, I've got an 8 as well.
Yeah,
8 Paul Smiths for Paul Smith.
Exactly. Other Side of the Game. The next track, Other Side of the Game.
I think this might be my favourite track on the album.
I think this might be one of my favourite tracks of all time.
Whoa.
Yeah, I love it.
Big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, she's smashing the vocals.
I mean, this is my favourite vocal performance on this album.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah.
I've written, love this. And in capital letters, the vocal.
Yes.
I loved how the sections weaved in and out of each other. I love the story.
Yeah.
It was very compelling.
Yeah, and actually, really so we're talking about when they were written. This was the product of a late recording session with the Roots. So the Roots were called in for the final recording session, and this and Sometimes were the result of that. So this was a late addition to the album.
Yeah.
But it feels like she absolutely comes together here. And
did they play on the whole album?
No, they only played on bits of it, including because they were only involved in these couple of tracks. Obviously, Sometimes is split into two.
Yeah,
Afro was part of that recording session because it's about Questlove, although I don't think they play on it. But yeah, it is amazing, and I love the lyrics as well.
Yeah,
I mean, the story it tells, she's just not judgmental. You know, so this is about somebody being in a relationship with a drug dealer and the difficulty of that, the kind of pull of that, the guilt somewhat, but not judgmental. She's absolutely sitting with it. I love the kind of Badu is with you, baby line.
Yeah,
it's it just feels like she's speaking, to her people really here.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Score?
Oh, I mean, this is a 10 for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
our first 10 of the podcast.
Yeah, but this is a song
episodes.
I will be putting on again.
Yeah, 9. I'll give it a 9.
Yeah. So the next track is Sometimes Mix number 9, which we've already talked about. It's a lovely little kind of skit. And then we jump on to Next Lifetime.
Again. Another great one.
I mean, they come thick and fast in this first half of the album. And this was my favourite song right at the start, actually. This is the one I connected with immediately. This is what I found myself kind of singing along to. Yeah, I love this song. I think it's got my favourite moment of the whole album on it, actually. Just in the first full rendition of the chorus, she comes in a bit early with "I guess I'll see you next lifetime," a bit ahead of the beat and just overlaps.
So in the first chorus?
Yeah, well, so the first chorus is right at the start, and it's not the full chorus. It doesn't say "I'll see you next lifetime," but the second version of it does then have the full chorus, and it's that one. Sends chills down my spine. That just
it's very again effortlessly cool.
Yeah,
it's it's really good. It's really good. I'm trying to find. I've written the groove and not drawn stars, but done like those sort of like those lines around it when you think something's really great. Like when you write something in school, you think this is powerful. What I'm saying here because I've written the groove.
Yeah.
Like it's really important, and put sort of like lines like it's fireworks. It's yeah, that just how laid back that all is.
Mm-hmm.
And then as well, how the chorus tightens up
Yeah.
in that section. It's doing it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another amazing track. I say I was right into it right at the start, and it's still kind of strong now. I think other side of the game kind of overtook it, but still right up there.
It's that little that side A, or what I'm sort of imagining as side A. It's just great. It's really, really good.
Yeah, this was. I don't know what the original release was of this. Obviously, at that time, people were buying CDs and weren't really buying as much vinyl. I bought the vinyl, but a reissue, and it's a double album. It's split over 2 records. So, but I guess it perhaps wasn't when it was first released. I don't know. But yeah, that first.
I assume
album.
It was probably released on CD, right?
Yeah, it'd be released on CD, but also they will have had a vinyl release originally. I'm guessing.
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Big one. So what are you gonna give this?
Oh, it's a 9.
Yeah, great. I'm on an 8. So
yeah.
We're on the same.
We are, yeah.
We're on the same trajectory.
Yeah, I feel like last time there was more variation between our scores.
Yeah.
Yeah. This time feels like we agree.
Certainly so far.
Yeah.
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 It's difficult to sort of be too critical about these things because it's just like, the groove good, vocal good. I'm just enjoying it all.
Yeah.
But then we have a bit of a change
when
we get to Afro freestyle.
Yeah.
Skit.
Yeah.
Little blues tune.
Yeah.
I'm not wild on it. But what I do really like about it is, again, without production, without anything to it, you really get a really nice snapshot of her vocal.
Yeah. Exactly. That kind of transition from talking into singing, again, effortlessly, beautifully.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, it feels a bit too laid back, actually, for me, for the album. I want more. But yeah, it's cool, and the whole album is.
And we're on to the next bit.
Yes.
Well, I've written some notes.
Great.
And actually I did these on my laptop just to add to the confusion. So these were some of the things that were happening in 1997. Bill Clinton started his second term. Mm-hmm. Notorious B.I.G. was killed.
Right.
In LA.
Height of the West Coast, East Coast feud. Yeah.
Men in Black came out. Steve Jobs returned to Apple.
Yeah.
Microsoft then buys 100 mil of shares in Apple.
Right.
Because it was struggling.
Yeah.
Look at them now.
Yeah.
Flying. South Park aired its first episode.
Did it?
Yeah.
You weren't watching that age 6, were you?
No, but I do love a bit of South Park.
Yeah.
It's good. First colour photograph on the front of the New York Times.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was all black and white in those days.
The first supersonic land speed record, and it averaged a speed of 763 miles an hour. And Titanic was the highest grossing film. And in music, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds released The Boatman's Call.
Mm-hmm.
Great album. Notorious B.I.G.'s Life After Death came out 16 days after he was killed.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige released Show My World. Hanson's Middle of Nowhere, which features...
Really? Bop?
That's the one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know any other Hanson songs, so if it wasn't that one, we're in trouble.
Yeah, so that came out. Radiohead's OK Computer.
We may well come back to that at some point.
Well, it was the first CD I ever bought with my own money.
Yeah, that's too cool.
The only organically cool thing I've ever done. Maybe I could drop the word organically. And Prodigy's Fat of the Land.
Yeah. And who won the league, Tom?
You can guess. 97.
Was it Man U?
It was Man U.
Yeah.
Them's the news.
Very good.
Magic. And we're away. We're into the second half.
Into the second half of the album. So we start with Certainly, or at least the first version of it.
I gave this a 5. So, but it's interesting that again, that really sort of earwormy. I think it's that bass line, which I initially thought was really cool. Then just started sort of, I found it as well. It's the speed of the track mixed with as well that kind of, bass isn't particularly sort of clear in the sonic spectrum. It's quite low.
Yeah,
double bass in particular. Different to electric bass in the sense that you've got a bit more low mid push.
Yeah.
It does tiny bit feel like you're wading through treacle.
I agree. And actually, there's a remix later on with a Kool and the Gang sample.
Right.
And I think I preferred it. Or at least, I don't think it's as fully formed, but that felt like it was going in a better direction for me than
certainly flipped it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you
certainly
here.
Flipped it. Yeah, go on.
Certainly I gave it a 5. Certainly flipped it, I gave it a 7.5.
There we go.
I think it's much more up my street.
Yeah.
It's much more, I think it's faster as well.
Yeah.
A lot more happening. And it's really pushing those sort of 90s feels.
Yeah.
I looked up what a Mickey was.
Yeah. Mickey Finn.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. It's a
drink laced with drugs.
Yeah.
I
don't know what's the etymology of Mickey Finn. Why is it? Can you remember?
I can't remember, but I can look it up. Tell the people what you thought about this song.
Well, I agreed with you. I didn't like the bass line so much and felt it was a bit too kind of repetitive. The lyrics were interesting to me. One of the things that she has said is that it's about how Africans were brought to America and forced to change their culture.
Wow.
And I think that actually, when you understand that, those lyrics kind of take on a completely new light. And
should have put that in your mid-month misses, mate.
Yeah, well, maybe I didn't come up with it till after.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it now.
Yeah.
With that in mind. So I mean, this is what Wikipedia says. I'll try and sort of gloss over it as I'm reading it. So it's most likely named after the manager and bartender of the Lone Star Saloon, which operated on the South State Street in the Loop neighborhood of Chicago. Okay.
So it feels to me like it should be Cockney rhyming slang, but clearly Erykah Badu's not going to be quoting Cockney rhyming slang, is she?
Oh, wow. So on June 22nd in 1918, 4 people were arrested and over 100 waiters taken into custody over the apparent widespread practice of poisoning by waiters in Chicago.
Huh?
So that's
Chicago.
Yeah. Wow. But that's mad.
Mm.
That's
and you can see again how that might link to the African experience in America.
Yeah.
So you're giving this a 5?
Giving this a 5.
Yeah, I'm giving it. I said I'd give it a 6.
Okay,
I'm there with you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well when there's almost 2 versions of a track on an album. You do get to choose your favorite.
Yeah,
and in this instance, it wasn't so much that my favorite just leapt bounds ahead of the other one. It's more like it just went, actually, if I had to pick between the 2, I'd probably jettison this one and go with the other.
Yeah.
Because, they've flipped it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Great. And putting a remix on your debut album as well feels like quite a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4-Leaf Clover.
4-Leaf Clover. So,
I mean, the opening of this, I know we've said it sounds so 90s.
Yeah.
But the opening of this is literally like Hallmark.
Exactly. It in fact, I've put feels like the most dated song on the album.
Oh.
Dates back to 1983. So it's a cover of an Atlantic Star track from 1983.
Okay.
Touch of 4-Leaf Clover.
And thoughts?
Well, felt to me like it didn't fit. And maybe it is because it's a cover. And it just felt like it was of this time. It was a kind of 90s cover of an earlier track. And so I was trying to understand why it might be there.
Yeah. I think as well, like, image-wise, as in like what the lyrics, I just found it a bit sort of jarring with the rest of it.
Catch a leprechaun.
Yeah, it just all felt a bit sort of strange, Luck of the Irish and all that.
Yeah.
It was, it did feel a bit odd. I enjoyed the groove a lot, but yeah, it wasn't my favourite.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe she's linking back to the past. With this being, Atlantic Star might well have been one of her influences, early influences,
sure.
And
okay.
Just kind of rooting this album in the history of soul. Yeah.
How many Paul Smiths did it get?
It got 6 as well.
6 Paul Smiths. I gave it 6 Paul Smiths.
Yeah, great.
But we have a bit of an upturn here.
Yeah, with No Love.
Yeah, these next 3,
Yeah,
I enjoyed increasingly more.
great.
Actually, all the way into Certainly Flipped It. It sort of all started sort of climbing a bit more here.
Yeah,
It's that sort of 3-track dip for me.
yeah,
7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
Where I was a bit like, it's all right.
yeah.
But it didn't really sort of grab me. But these ones, I'm actually just going to put on a bit of No Love just to get myself in the brain space.
I mean, this is what just reminded me a bit of Mary J. Blige. This,
yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the vinyl crackle production.
Yeah, it's interesting, the sort of tape noise.
Yeah,
I've commented on that as well. I quite like it. I'd be interested to know what the source was, as in what they've used to get that, and if it was, if it's been put on as an effect, or whether it, it's just been used as actually from one of the recordings that they've taken, that it's just on there. Yeah, that's quite a bold choice.
Yeah,
because it's really loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I did think it sort of cutting out. Maybe in the middle 8, maybe the middle section it changes.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to go and listen and check. But yeah, I was digging this.
Good. Yeah, me too. I say, actually, the bridge lyrics and rhythms lifted from a Stevie Wonder track.
Okay.
I Love You Too Much.
Which might be...
We'll come back to that. There's another... Maybe even in the next song, there's another Stevie Wonder...
Which is
link.
All...
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. I was trying to think of something which didn't sound so ominous. They might come up later.
Yes.
We'll see. Yeah, I also really enjoyed the flute sample at the end of this, which I think was quite different. It does that thing as well at the end where it almost feels like it's stopping and then it starts again right at the end.
Yeah.
It almost does the outro twice. I liked it. I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7. Oh, look at us. Aligned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then on to drama.
Yeah.
Was there drama?
I'm not a big fan of the lyrics to drama.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels a bit like This Crazy, Crazy World. Feels like something a teenager might write. I don't know. I like the tune. I like the vibe. I like the kind of flow of it all. But I struggle to get past some of the lyrics. And then that kind of whole section that is race relations, segregation, no occupation. I mean, that again is a Stevie Wonder reference.
Okay.
So it's from Pastime Paradise. People will know from Coolio's Gangster's Paradise.
Okay.
But I felt like the Stevie Wonder version is more solid, not quite as...
Yeah, okay.
And that is from Songs in the Key of Life.
Ooh.
Even more foreshadowing.
I really enjoyed the walking bass at the end, which I thought was a nicer walking bass than the one used earlier in the album.
Yeah,
I really love that. So it got a 7 from me.
It got a 7 from me. Oh, the scores are too aligned. I'm going to have to come up with a different score. Right, the next one's a 1.
I don't believe you, because it's not what I've put. Sometime.
The vinyl crack, or that tape crackle is back again, actually, in the production of this.
It?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, but I love this track, and maybe I'd go.
You just get your heads on your vinyl player clean, mate.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know how it's leaking into my Spotify, but there you go. I'd maybe go a remix of this with some of the the rap from mix number 9 put back in, and some of that production changed. And she reworked and re-released this on her live album as a track, Yeah Yo. So it's interesting that it kind of feels like a work in progress. It was you got those 2 bits of it on this album, and then a completely different version on a live album from the same time.
Yeah. Something that I noticed on this is there's a massive amount of push and pull.
Yeah.
Not only in the music, but also in the lyrics, there's a huge. I mean, I'll read you some here. So the BVs sing the sometimes, and it's interspersed with her saying sometimes I think that you're draining me. Sometimes I want you at home. Sometimes I feel like forgiving you. Sometimes I don't. And it's that constant sort of push and pull, pulls you towards, then pushes you away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got a real feel of a DJ like mixing it live. Like it's got these sort of big sort of sweep cut-ins and cut-outs. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's a bit different from the others.
And again, this was part of the Roots session that had produced this and Other Side of the Game.
It feels very sort of not live because it isn't kind of doing that thing, but it feels maybe it feels very alive in its makeup, which is really nice. Like I like these like little breaks and little stops and little moments. And I mean, we were just listening to it then, and I looked over at you. I mean, the vocal, she's a master.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole review could be summed up into the vocal, the groove.
Yeah,
how cool is it? Yeah.
I've literally just written it so many times.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.5.
I gave it a 7. But I was about to say I think you've given it a 7.5. Certainly flipped it.
Yes. Yeah, well, I think we've already discussed this, haven't we? But
I really preferred this.
I think I prefer it.
Too.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd take your advice on it, Tom. The mix feels a bit off. The drums just felt a bit loud on this to me. I don't know whether.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. That snare is really loud.
Yeah,
it really cracks out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. After now that you said that, I'll listen back. But yeah, I did really like it.
Yeah.
I just thought there was it felt really fun.
Yeah.
It felt like she was having a lot of fun with it. You often wonder if, I mean, it so rarely happens that people, start recording an album at the beginning of an album and work through like that. It's usually a lot later that these things are sort of figured out. And
sure.
It's a much more organic process of writing and sessions and working that all out. But it does feel like because it's a redo of a previous song.
Yeah.
It just feels like kind of the reins are off and it's like, all right, okay, let's just let loose.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe it was such a kind of enjoyable, loose reworking of a song that she had that she decided to put it in. And I'm glad she did.
Obviously, it does imply that this was done after.
Yeah.
It's not like this came first and then the other one was done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like you say, it was a session with the Roots. So, I mean, if they've come in and gone, okay, let's play over this, because it's not the bass is nowhere to be seen. It's not like they've taken that part.
Yeah.
And it's there and they're playing on top of it.
It's gone. Yeah.
It's a completely new version.
Yeah.
I do like the feel of the first one. Like I'm a big fan of those sort of slow, really sort of backbeat grooving songs. I mean, I'm amazed I haven't got a sort of crick in my neck from bobbing my head so much. It's been bouncing.
Yeah, great. I love The World Is Mine. When I wake up, I don't need nobody telling me the time. Oh, she's owning it, isn't she? It's great.
7.5 Paul Smiths from me.
Yeah, and an 8 from me. I really like this.
Yeah, I think I was hardened by my sort of dip in the middle.
Yeah,
which has maybe sort of skimped a couple of halves on the couple of last tracks because I did really enjoy them.
Maybe,
but 8.5. I mean, 8.5 is getting very close to how I felt about Other Side of the Game, and I don't know if it quite gets there.
No, so just give it an 8.
And there we are.
Yeah, and then we just finished with Rim Shot, and it just feels like it nicely bookends the album. I really enjoyed this album, and it was great to kind of listen to it and talk it through with you, Tom.
It was great to talk to you too, Paul. Yes, so here we are. We're at the end. 2 months down.
Yes, very good. 2 great albums, very different, and really enjoyed like the process because it's really connecting me with music that otherwise I just wouldn't have spent this much time devoted to. And that's the whole purpose of the long play, a full month listening to classic albums.
Nice. So as we do every month, we have a poll and we find out about what albums we'll be listening to coming up. So next month, we will be listening to
Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. It's a biggie, Tom. And
how long is the album?
It's an hour and 45. It's a full double album and some bonus tracks. So it's a biggie, and I'm really looking forward to it. So tune in. Next month, we'll release the intro episode, as we always do at the start of the month, to talk about the background to the album. And then we'll be back at the end of next month with the full
I think
review.
we'll probably, with this one, we'll probably do a version where we say, okay, let's each choose 5 tracks that we want to
really talk about.
Yeah, because I mean, talking about 21 songs, is big.
It's a big slog for the listener.
Yes, and you never know. That might be something that in the future we go, okay, actually, this format works nicely.
Yeah.
Why don't you let us know? You can find us in places, all the good places.
Yeah.
You can find us on Instagram at The Long Play Pod. You can find us on our website, which is soon to be updated.
It is soon to be updated, but it's at thelongplay.uk. So you'll find us there.
Yeah, so please come and join us. And there's also, if you want to get Paul's brilliant musings in the mid-month missives, you can do by signing up to our mailing list. All of these links will be in the show notes. So click there and come and join us. And come and tell your friends. Tell your friends. One of the great things that really help us in Podland is if you leave us a little review. If you
that'd be great.
I mean, I don't want to twist your arm here, but if you want to leave us a 5-star review, that would be mega helpful, and it tells all the algorithms that we're doing the right things and that lots of other people should come and listen. So let's make this community everything that we hope it can be. And, you know, talking about albums is more fun with lots of people. So come join us and tell your friends.
Great. And we will be back imminently within the next week with our introduction to Songs in the Key of Life. So stay subscribed. Remember the
adage.
We have one rule, and that rule is no skipping,
no shuffling.